Yeah, and on today's episode, I'll talk about the official plan that was approved by the province, what my thoughts are on it, and if there's time remaining, I might get into some other topics. So the first item is the official plan, and then there's a story in the Norway newspaper, and it's called Appeals Not Allowed Again. Ontario orders Waterloo to sprawl into farmland. And this impacts Peterborough, and the byline Peterborough is mentioned. And I'm just going to watch the chat. Yeah, Peterborough is mentioned, and this is an article from April 13th by Fatima Saeed and Emma McIntosh. So, yeah, the open sprawl, it impacts a lot of cultural sites relevant to indigenous peoples, specifically the Mississauga and Anishinaabe peoples in the city, and people that and other indigenous peoples. Because Haudenosaunee people as well, because those a tie-in to wetlands. But it's also important to note that to avoid um, the what's it called, the eco-colonialist mindset as well. Um, um, so, and then those watered down regulations. Those a significant difference between shall or will versus should. That changes the meaning of legislation quite significantly. Shall or will means you have to do something, whereas should, it's optional for government to do something. Phil Fortin of Environmental Defense uh, said that biodiversity is already a serious issue in the Waterloo and Wellington area specifically, but it could apply to other areas of Ontario. Um, so 2,000 hectares of green space and farmland is being developed just in Waterloo. And then Vaughton of Environmental Defense said the patches of habitat that remain are very sensitive to features like sprawl, and sprawl is probably the biggest threat to them. I'm just trying to. So I'm just trying to. Yeah, I have it going. So, and then there's an increase in dependency on calls because of increased open sprawl. Uh, Green space also absorbs water to mitigate floods and sequester carbon, capabilities that are lost from global warming, according to both science and this article. And then those questions about housing, and it says appeals are not allowed. So this means that it's important if you disagree with this plan. Now is the time to be active, write to your MPP, make some noise. Um, Even though appeals are not allowed, those other mechanisms um, to make yourself heard about this plan. And then I will mention that there are some positive things about this, the change in the official plan. Um, so there was a housing availability task force that released a report that said that land availability was not the cause of the housing crisis, and the government is um, overriding that. They're not acting on evidence, they're giving more land. There's years of work and consultations with municipalities that have been impacted. The types of edits that have been added are really completely the opposite direction that you would expect the government to be implemented. The government to be implementing, said Patton of Environmental Defense. And the Green Party leader Mike Schreiner said that this leads to higher costs for municipalities, which have to build more expensive roads and water mains in neighborhoods that are spread out. And then there's a later quote by Mayor Jeff Leo. And then Wellington and Peterborough also open to increased development. Mayor Jeff Leo, a former Liberal cabinet minister, told Norwell he welcomes the province's approved plan for his city, which opens up certain rural and employment land for residential development without any limits. I believe that this is problematic because there was already land use assessment that said that all this land isn't needed. And if we continue building out unrestricted, we will have worse transit system in the city of Peterborough, and it will go against a lot of the desires for a livable community, compact. So it actually goes against some of the city's own policies that were proposed. And then, quote, we have to remind ourselves that municipalities are truly creatures of the province of Ontario. And this government has been bringing a series of policies they want us to follow. When asked if he believed the province was supporting local decision making, Leo said the province's decision would help Peterborough solve its housing crisis. I disagree with this because it will force people to live further on the outskirts of the city, meaning less of the demand or less of the needs. The official plan doesn't expand the city's urban boundary, but does open up large sections of green space for development decades earlier than intended. So 29 years earlier. That's problematic. Um, and then the province's version strikes out meaning of some of the lands that were set aside. Yeah, so I don't agree with Mayor Jeff Leo's assertion that this will be beneficial to the city of Peterborough. So I'm looking at the um, official plan, and anywhere that you see bold, this isn't the official plan, this is the amendments to the plan, I should say. Anywhere that is bold is added, bold strike through is subtracted. I wasn't able to highlight this document. So they got rid of the rural transitional area of lands that are needed to manage growth. Um, so I asked, do they have density limits? Letting the area grow before 2051 will reduce density um, and impact transit service. It's more expensive. Strong Towns has a lot of information about this. Um, yeah, and I wrote a note that it's 29 years earlier than needed. The city did a land needs assessment and calculated where people will be needed to live. So that's all um, impacted negatively. All that detailed research. Um, and Jeff Leo was in the government, the previous government, that recognized that urban sprawl was an issue. So he's going against what his the liberals have been saying, um, provincial liberals. Um, then there's more land in rural areas, more buildings, and likely it's going to be single-story family homes. Um, and and if you decrease density, you're more likely to impact wetlands and forests and habitat for the species that rely on those wetlands and forests. So that and increase greenhouse gases because people have to travel. People living in the outskirts of a city use more energy for heating and cooling the homes. You'd have to get rid of some trees. The trees and lands that are there help sequester carbon. Um, yeah, so this area wasn't expected for growth. Those 61 changes in this plan. So in Cold Springs, um, I believe this was like a employment area. I'm not 100% sure about these areas, but they crossed out references to density targets. 80 hectares of development and 60 hectares of development specifically for employment. And people, like if you build on employment land, people have to travel further to walk. So that's increasing emissions. Those impacts from weakened conservation authorities, so that's some of the changes. um, Sensitive land is included in development. So they'll actively thinking of building on sensitive land. What is sensitive land? And I'll get into that if I have time. Oh, and then there's a new section all about offsetting. Offsetting is problematic. It hasn't shown to work. There's an environmental organization wrote an article about it. Maybe I can find it. But it's saying that where avoidance is not possible in accordance with policy 4.1.2F, the city shall protect the long-term viability of existing or planned industrial, manufacturing, or other uses that are vulnerable to encroachment by ensuring that planning and development of proposed adjacent sensitive land uses are only permitted if the following are demonstrated in accordance with provincial guidelines, standards, and procedures. So this is not even protecting sensitive land, like natural spaces. Planned industrial, manufacturing, or other uses what are defined as other uses. It's not clear. And then they can only do it if there is an identified need for the proposed use. An alternative locations for the proposed use has been evaluated and there are no reasonable alternative locations. That's why you do land needs assessment as well, but the province got rid of that. Adverse effects to the proposed sensitive land use are minimized and mitigated, and potential impacts to industrial manufacturing or other uses are minimized and mitigated. There's a special provision on 420 Tower Hill Road. I think that might be formal employment land. So this is good. They got rid of one section about height limits, but they're also missing concept known as the missing middle. You don't need to choose between like tall buildings and single family homes. So that is while it's good that they're eliminating height limits, it's bad that they're also at the same time reducing density targets and opening up the development land decades sooner than needed. So those more tall buildings in downtown, and then those tall buildings with some exceptions. there's a line that says that's added for some natural heritage features, example, unevaluated wetlands. Evaluation may be required, so it's optional, um, and policies for appropriate level applied accordingly. That's already the case. And unevaluated wetland, those unevaluated wetlands have not been evaluated in the province prior to development. That's what the environmental commissioner said. So I have a problem with that. Um, development and site alteration may be permitted within. So like getting rid of the wetland or habitat or adjacent to significant wildlife habitat, provided it has been demonstrated that there will be no negative impact on the features, forms, and function. But how is that defined? Is it subjective, or is it like very like systematic process? And is it different for provincially significant wetlands versus other wetlands? And then in policy 4.6.2D, they got rid of all unevaluated wetlands. So they just got rid of it completely. I think that's problematic. Unevaluated wetlands should be specifically in the plan so that they are evaluated prior to development and protected. And then there's like problems with like the evaluation system isn't perfect by any means, and especially with changes made by the province. But it's something to consider. Yeah, and then the no negative impacts and features. Like you have to have an evaluation in order to know that there's any impacts or on the form and function, and what counts as the form and function, like, and what doesn't. Yeah, some more changes to conservation authority. Conservation authority changes. So more changes to future. So like people can build on employment lands. 1694 Driscoll Road. That might have been a employment land area. And then they deleted a cultural heritage resources. Made the affordable housing target recall. Changed accessibility, made recall changes to accessibility. A lot of people use what's it called? Yeah, a lot of people with that, like with improved accessibility, You're also improving the environment, making it easier for people to use public transit, making it easier for people um, to move into the city. Um, oh, um, Increased residential densities are encouraged instead of shall be supported. And then there's some other changes, conservation. And then they changed the design considerations about appearance and character. Um, so yeah, I think that's good. But if you have a building that's like completely out of place, might not fit, might not fit in the community. Depends on what's proposed, I suppose. Let's see. Conservation Authority. um, yeah, and then they eliminated section 8.2. And also, the parkway has been eliminated from the official plan, and a map has been provided. I'll have to study the map from Schedule A that was attached. For more closely. And then there's a proposal to propose provincial planning statement. And this is the module of the Greater Golden Horseshoe growth plan and the provincial policy statement. Um, yeah, it's a place to grow growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe and the provincial policy statement. And they plan on revoking the provincial policy statement 2020 and the place to grow, as well as amend regulations OWIG 416/05 and OWIG 311/06 under the Places to Grow Act. And this is in the environmental registry, and with the number 019-6813, and you can comment on this until June 6th, 2023. And this has relevance to the official plan because um, provincial policies are mentioned um, in the official plan. And then there's an entire section about natural heritage that's missing from the plan. And then there's it seems to be reduced density targets. Large and fast-growing municipalities are encouraged to plan for minimum density of 50 residents and jobs per hectare. And then those like density targets around transit. Um, but outside transit, it seems to be a reduced density. But I'm trying to get to the natural heritage section to show you. Oh, 4.3. Oh, 4.1, natural heritage. So it says, as of April 6, 2023, natural heritage policies and related definitions remain under consideration by the government. Once proposed policies and definitions are ready to review and input, they will be made available through a separate posting on the Environmental Registry of Ontario. The notice number 019-6813 will be updated with a link to the relevant posting once it is available. Yeah, so it looks like I am at time. Um, so I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and summer. And I will continue broadcasting on YouTube and Twitch. And yeah, I would also like to thank you for listening over the years and potentially continuing listening through on YouTube and Twitch. But I appreciate hearing from you on some of the episodes, and um, yeah, I just wanted to thank you because I'm changing where I live, and I will miss the community in Peterborough, Northern, and I hope to maintain some of the connections that I've acquired over the years. So thank you very much, and um, yeah, the next topic that I will cover will be focused around greenhouse gases because Canada's national greenhouse gas inventory was released and it's 2021. Uh, the report was 2023. But it it's back a couple years. So with that, I will sign off, and um, yeah, I'll let you know what happens in in the future. Bye for now.